caught me, so we're good. Is this working? It is. Good morning. Good morning. And welcome. I'm John Spitzer. I'm serving as the worship associate this morning. And we do have some announcements. No, not really. First announcement, get your 5th shot of the bivalent. I have been instructed that that shot is available, and for those who qualify for that, that's the recommendation. Next, visitors, considering today's memorial service, and this is a service for Shirley Davis. It's here today, here at 11:45. Okay. We will postpone the meet and greet for today. Our next one is in April. If you haven't already, please stop by the welcome table to fill out a visitor card so we can keep you updated on events. And that's probably a good place to give a special welcome to our visitors. And if we have any visitors here who are willing to do so, please stand up and tell us where you are from and give us your name.
I'm Petrie Shaw, and I'm from southern Jersey. Please wait for a microphone.
Oh, we need a microphone.
I can adjust. So anyway, I'm here visiting my close friends who may not want to admit it after this, Steve and Palma Merkel, and my new best friend over here. So been here, I was here about 7 or 8 years ago, Steve? 10, and enjoyed it, so thank you very much. I think I wasn't allowed to come back.
Thank you.
My name is Barbara Taylor. I'm from Tennessee Valley Unitarian Universalist Church in Knoxville, Tennessee, where the weather seems to be about the same temperature.
I'm Petrie Shaw. I'm from South Bend, Indiana, visiting Ellen and Dennis Higdon. It was 17 and snowy there yesterday.
Hi, good morning. I'm Kurt Bauman. I'm here with my parents, Cindy and Bill Bauman.
And when Kurt arrived, I told him we'd been going to a new church for 3 months, and we joined. And I said, Unitarian Universalist, and he said, wondered what took you so long.
I'm Johanna Laurie. I'm Kendra Muntz's sister. I'm visiting today, and we're going to be picking up my daughter Fiona and my grandson Cameron, who are coming in from New Hampshire, which is where we live. I escaped that huge snowstorm last weekend, and they're just coming off another snowstorm. So we're very happy to be here. So.
My name's Steve Dunlap. I'm from Indianapolis, UUI, and I've enjoyed singing with your choir a couple of times.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more? Great. Thank you all. Other announcements. Mahjong Tuesday, March 28th in Waters Hall. Please bring a card if you have one, even if it's not current. Rusty and seasoned players are welcome, and I pondered on this because I have a friend named Rusty. I don't think he's going to be here. Okay. Book groups read for Thursday, April 13th at 1 p.m. in Waters Hall. The book is The Reading List by Sarah Adams. Blue Lotus Meditation Center holding annual Taste of Sri Lanka dinner on Sunday, March 26th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Jewish Congregation on Auburn Roads. Tickets are $50 and are pre-sale only. Announcement from the Strategic Planning Committee. Have you offered your 2 cents about UCOV's future? Respond to the Strategic Planning Survey today. Didn't receive a planning survey? Check your spam folder. Or see Bill Reynolds after the service. I'll see you, Bill, because I don't have it yet. Please read your weekly handout for upcoming events. If you're watching at home, please check ucov.org or Breeze. And Mo has some announcements introducing.
Good morning, I'm Mo Morrison, the current Secretary of the Board of Trustees, and this morning we would like to introduce you to a couple of faces so that you can connect names with faces. In preparation for our annual business meeting, our congregational meeting, which will occur this coming Saturday, the 25th at 10 a.m., we will be voting on the new slate of nominees for the new Board of Trustees term. So, the 3 people who will be on the slate: Barbara Buring, please come on up. Steve Leapley, and Jean Sibbers, who is in Asheville, North Carolina. There she is, and she's also right here with us. So these are the 3 nominees that we will be voting on Saturday. We thought it would be really nice for you all to see who they are before the meeting. So we are also wanting to encourage you and invite you to please come, all voting members, please come to the meeting Saturday morning, vote. We're going to be going over a lot of things and voting on several things, and we're having a celebratory luncheon immediately following the meeting, so we hope you will stay for that too. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. And relating to the meeting, there was an email that went out that had links to materials relating to the meeting, the proposed budget, bylaws changes. If you didn't receive that email or didn't see it, it is the links to those documents are now on the website. It's on the home page. Scroll down a little bit and you'll see the announcement for the annual meeting, and it has details. Click here, click there, and up come those links. Okay. We have refreshments available after this service. The table is all the way at the right. Please help yourself. We are now entering into a sacred space. Please silence all electrics. Our service will begin with the prelude. Terry Pratchett writes, "Why do you go away? So that you can come back, so that you can see the place you came from with new eyes and extra colors. And the people there see you differently too. Coming back to where you started is not the same as never leaving. As we return to spring, may the light of our chalice illuminate the beauty of the changing year and lead us to view it with wonder and joy."
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm Reverend Amy Petrie Shaw. My pronouns are they or she, and it's absolutely wonderful to see you here on this slightly chilly morning. To everything, there's a season and a time for every purpose, so welcome to this time and welcome to this place. No matter who you are or what point of your life journey you are at or approaching, you're welcome here. You don't have to be perfect or anywhere near it. You don't have to be rich or brilliant. You don't even have to be certain of some truth or creed. You just have to be. You have to be here now. So please take just a moment to say hello or to introduce yourself to the people right around you. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our opening hymn this morning, number 360, Here We Have Gathered. This is the point in our service where we begin our children's chapel when we explain to the smallest among us what it is the grown-ups will be talking about later in the service. So for any of the children here and for any of the children following along at home, what we're going to be talking about today is kind of two things. We're talking about the wheel of the year. The fact that it goes from spring, summer, winter, fall, and does that every single year without fail. The year just rolls on along whether we want it to or not. But one of the things we're talking about is that people's lives kind of work the same way. And just like you can't hold on to winter in August, as much as you might want to, you might want it to be a little cooler and a little nicer, you can't. So we're talking about the fact that human lives work the same way. Just like when you were 3 or 4 and you had your favorite pair of pajamas, and then you got taller, and then you got even taller, and you tried to put them on and your leg went, and there was no way those pajamas were going to come up no matter what you did, because you outgrew them. You got bigger. And then you had your favorite gym shoes, and one day you tried to put your toes in and your foot went, and no matter what you did, it wouldn't go in that shoe anymore because it didn't fit. Life is like that. You get bigger and taller and older, whether you want to or not. And eventually you just got to throw away the gym shoe or get a new pair of pajamas that actually fit who you are now. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I ask you all to help me sing the children to their classrooms with the Reeb benediction. Giving is a sacred practice, and when you give to your church, you also receive. Our offering words are offered every week with levity because giving should always happen with a smile. A young IT programmer's dog died, and never having gone to church himself, he wasn't quite sure what to do. And after thinking about it for a few hours, inspiration struck, and the programmer wrapped his doggie carefully in a blanket and went to the local UU church. He asked the preacher, "Hey, do you think you could do a funeral for my dog?" And the pompous preacher was right in the middle of a stewardship campaign and very, very busy, and he brushed the young man off. "My time is far too valuable to waste on doing a service for a dog." The young man very sadly looked at the preacher and said, "Well, do you know who might do a service for me?" And the preacher said, "Well, there's an MCC church down the street. They might do such a frivolous thing." The young man nodded very seriously and said, "Preacher, do you think that $5,000 would be enough payment for a dog's funeral?" And the preacher slowly set down his pen and said, "My dear boy, why in the world didn't you tell me that the dog was a Unitarian?" Yeah. The morning offering will now be given and gratefully received. Thank you all so much for these gifts and for everything that you do for the life and the work of this community. Because church is all about community, and it's as a community, human hearts and human hands, that we come here together to share our laughter and our tears, and to bear witness and to minister to one another as we struggle with life's sorrows and we celebrate life's joys. We're entering into a time of sharing our joys and concerns, and you can raise a hand and someone will bring you a microphone. As always, you are welcome at any time before, during, or after the service to come up and light a candle. The candle table. During joys and concerns, I light candles for every joy or concern spoken. Please share information only with permission and speak briefly so that everyone who wants to has a chance to share. We have 2 joys to start us. Last Sunday we collected for CHAPS and we received $726. Yeah, so very nice. And Kathy Avery would like to let us all know that today is Emmy's Forever Day. This is the day of her adoption. So when you see them after the service, congratulate them on this wonderful anniversary day. So if anyone else has a joy or concern, please raise a hand. Someone will bring you a microphone.
I know she introduced herself before, but I'm super happy that my sister is visiting me this week.
Make that 2. I've never had my sister Joanna stay with me in my own house, actually since John died, which was a long time ago. So this is a breakthrough, and I'm thrilled to have my niece and grandnephew that we're picking up at the airport this afternoon for the whole week.
Oh, thanks. I have a celebration. Yesterday we had a wonderful concert here, and the name of the group was Passerine, and I want to thank every person from the congregation who came. I think you all enjoyed it. It was lovely. And I specifically want to thank Tom Reeves, my husband Steve, Pam Palmer, and Mo Morrison, who collected money at the money table, and whoever else that I am missing, I'm sorry, but it was a really fun time. And because Tom took a YouTube video of the entire performance, you can watch it anytime if you go to UCOV's YouTube channel. So it was lovely. Thank you all for coming. It was great.
Hi, my name is Rosemary Hagan, and I've got a couple of announcements about me that you're going to have to hear. Yeah, and Pat wants them short. In the first place, I'm quite deaf, if you haven't noticed that. Many times you say good morning to me and I move on, because the good morning I've heard has come over in that direction, and I've gone over to see who said good morning in the first place. So this can annoy you, but I have words of wisdom, and I say to you what my husband used to say to me when we argued. He said, "Get over it." So that's what I ask you to do. The other thing is, I found out now that I have a disease called aged macular degeneration. Now that means I can't see very well. So now when I can't hear you and I look at you to see who said that, I can't see you. So I think, all I can say to you is get over it.
I'm Tina Putney. For a few days now, I've been mourning the death of a gator behind our house. There's a big bank, and someone called to have him removed. And the guys removing him said, "Oh, we're taking him to a breeding farm up north." I think that was a joke, because there's an article in a Tampa Bay newspaper that most of them are killed for their meat. And their skins are usually scarred, so there's a breeding farm for skins. If they relocate a gator, it's often killed by the gators in their natural environment there. And we had so much enjoyment watching that gator. And it's just so sad to see him dragged away. He was 10 feet long, but so everyone's scared, you know, but there's no way he would come over this huge gorge and eat people.
May the love of our community hold all who need love and concern. May the light of our community shine on the broken places of the world. May the work of our hands and our hearts support, aid, and comfort all those who hunger or thirst for food or water or justice or freedom. May we never look away when we are needed. May those who are grieving be comforted and those who are tired find rest. May the broken places be healed, and may those who are filled with joy and laughter be abundant.
Our first reading today is a poem by American writer James Lasdun. The poem is called Blueberries. I'm talking to you, old man. Listen to me as you step inside this garden to fill a breakfast bowl with blueberries ripened on the bushes I'm planting now, 20 years back from where you're standing. It's strictly a long-term project. First year, pull off the blossoms before they open. Second year, let them flower. Watch the bees bobbing in every bonnet. But don't touch the fruit till year 3, and then only sample a handful or 2. Old man, I'm doing this for you. You know what they say about blueberries. Blood cleansing, mood lifting, memory boosters. Every bush a little fountain of youth, sparkling with flavonoids, anthocyanin. I've spent all summer clearing brush, sawing locust poles for the frames, digging in mounds of pine needles, bales of peat moss. I thought I'd do it while I still could. You can do something for me in turn. Think about the things an old man should, things I've shied away from, last things. Care about them, only don't care too. You'll know better than I do what I mean or what I couldn't say but meant. Reconcile. Forgive, repent, but don't go soft on me. Keep the faith, our infidel's implicit vow, not the hereafter, but the here and now. Weigh your heart against the feather of truth, as the Egyptians did, and purge its sin, but for your own sake, not your soul's. And since the only certain eternity is the one that stretches backward, look for it here inside this garden. Blue ray, blue crop, blueta, hardy blue. Little fat droplets of transubstantiate sky, each in its yeast-misted wineskin, chilled in dew. This was your labor, these are the fruits thereof. Fill up your bowl, old man, and bring them in.
Holding those words and images in mind, please join me in 1 minute of silent meditation or thought or prayer.
Our second reading is another poem, this one by Paul Mariani, an American poet and university professor emeritus at Boston College. In the Tuileries, we came upon the great wheel, rising gargantuan above the trees. Evening was coming on, an after-dinner stroll descending by easy stages toward the river, a bridge of leaves above us, broken here and there by streetlights coming on. Our time here nearly over, our return home a shadow, hovering. Paris, city of returns, you said, for the pleasure of it, like the great wheel looming there above us, all steel and light and music, daredevil daunting against the evening sky with the tower in the distance winking. The leaves still held firmly, the unthinkable descending of what lay ahead undreamt of still. Death descending inevitably as the great wheel in its return, a descent first through summer's golden leaves and then bare ruined branches, the great wheel turning and returning. As then, with the all but evening over us, our wives laughing by the entrance lights, we rose above the mansard roofs, the trees, the lights, lifting in a vertiginous ascent before descending. As we chattered on against the coming on of evening, our seat creaking in the rising wind, anxious to return now to earth's solidities. Instead, the great wheel merely sighed and lifted, stopping at the top, leaving each of us alone now with our own thoughts. The leaves below, green, gray, the dollhouse roofs, lights like diamonds winking, aloof and distant, the great wheel playing us, two middle-aged men, each descending toward the wheel's one appointed end, the great return to earth, as the books all have it, come our evening. For all our feigned bravado, we could feel the evening over us, even as we stared down upon the blur of leaves, our wives, our children, on all we would return to, the way shipwrecked sailors search for lights along a distant shore as we began the last descent. Leaving the tents and garden with its great wheel to return, my dear dead friend, to the winking lights along the boulevard, leaves lifting and descending, as now the evening air took mastery, it and the great wheel. We now turn to our next hymn, number 346, Come Sing a Song With Me. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing number 346.
Oh,
way back in that ancient year of 1998, there was a fairly little-known band named Semisonic. Some of you may have heard their biggest hit, a little song called Closing Time. Song was fairly forgettable, but one of the lines really stuck with me. Closing time, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Now, if you go by just the words of the song, it's a trite little song about closing time at a bar, leaving with your friend for the night. The writer said he was actually thinking about his daughter who was about to be born and the idea of being kicked out and into the world. But accidentally or on purpose, they touched something a little deeper with those words. Endings and beginnings are 2 points on that endless great wheel, and each is unable to exist in the other's absence. And while they may seem easy to pinpoint, they somehow slide away on closer examination. There are no simple and easy stops and starts. Now, books and movies make it look simple, really black and white. The tale starts with a birth or a death, a celebration, a revelation. If all else fails, the arrival of adolescence. And they end with a leaving, another death, a neat wrapping up of 100 threads in one little tiny package. 60 minutes complete with commercials. At the end of Mark Twain's Tom Sawyer, he ends it perfectly, saying, "So endeth this chronicle, it being strictly the history of a boy, it must stop here. The story could not go much further without becoming the history of a man. When one writes a novel about grown people, he knows exactly where to stop it, that is, with a marriage. But when he writes of juveniles, he must stop where he best can." In the day-to-day world, it's much more complicated. We're born in the middle of the story, right? And we exist before the end, and in between, we stop and start chapter after chapter. We're part of that shared story, and we make choices that impact not only ourselves, but every other character. We're created of the stops and the starts. And in order for something to start, something else must end. But where it happens in time and space doesn't matter. These points are arbitrary. The wheel of the year is a great example of it, and a greater metaphor. On paper, it's very logical. The pagan wheel of the year was a way to tell time before clocks and calendars were a major feature of daily living. You took a year, you divided it into 4 quadrants, and you called them spring, summer, winter, fall, or the local equivalent. Winter and summer solstices bisected the year at top or bottom, 12 and 6. And these were the longest and shortest days. The spring and fall equinoxes happened at what we would call 9 and 3 on the clock, days when dark and light were equal. Now, this mattered a lot in places like Florida and Wisconsin, where the actual first day of spring might be 86 degrees, or in Wisconsin's case, buried under 2 feet of snow. If your definition of starting spring involved what the weather was doing and words like getting warmer, you would have been totally out of luck. Or celebrating spring sometime in mid-May or mid-February. So an arbitrary point, how much light is present, was selected, and everybody could celebrate the turning of the wheel on the same day, roughly. Ostara is a pagan holiday that falls on the spring equinox. Some of you may recognize the resemblance to the word Easter. It is very possible that Christianity swiped this holiday. For those of you who've always wondered what the heck bunnies and eggies had to do with the birth of Christ, we can be pretty sure it was swiped. Ostara was the day when light and dark were equal, before the days began to lengthen toward summer. It was a day to let go of the darkness of the winter and to embrace the fertility of spring, often with imagery of, need I mention, rabbits and eggs. In his wonderful young adult book, Wintersmith, the late Terry Pratchett tells the story of a young witch named Tiffany who caught the attention of the spirit of winter, the Wintersmith. And because the Wintersmith fell in love with a human girl, he refused to leave. And what Tiffany originally saw as something harmless suddenly began to give her nightmares of a land locked in snow and ice forever. At one point in the story, Tiffany is arguing because she cannot understand why anyone would dance to welcome the coming of winter, as her people do. And an older witch loses her patience and snaps, "The year is round. The wheel of the world must spin. That is why up here we dance the dark Morris dance to balance it. We welcome the winter because of the new summer deep inside of it. So at Ostara, we dance to welcome the spring, to celebrate the Lord of Ice and the spring lady or the green goddess as they change places. And to misquote Pratchett, we dance to welcome the spring because of the new winter deep inside of it. We dance to let go because every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Now, a friend of mine, who I will call Kim to protect the guilty, learned this in a way that could have been horrific. And she writes a very funny blog, but this story wasn't very funny, and it's very true. Kim and her family went skiing on a rather large mountain in Canada. And she had never skied before, though the rest of her family, including her sons, had. And so everything was a little new. And when it came time to get on the ski lift, however, she had it down pat. She'd ridden similar lifts many, many times. And so she and her 10-year-old got on the lift together and started up, except something went wrong. And she shifted, or he shifted, and she slid, and then he slid. And suddenly he was gone. He had slid off the lift. Now, Kim is fast. She's very fast. And she managed to grab the coat of his sleeve as he started to fall. And so there they were with the lift moving and him dangling from the lift, held only by his mother's grip on his sleeve. And she realized almost immediately she had no leverage. She would not be able to pull him back in. And she looked ahead and saw that in 5 seconds they would be 20 feet in the air, and that this was a very long lift. She looked ahead and realized she could not hold him dangling until they reached the other side. So she dropped him, deliberately. She watched him hit the snow, and then get up and walk back to get the next lift that he could. And the ride for her took 10 minutes, and she cried the whole way. She stood there and she waited, and she waited. And when he got to the other side, he jumped off and called out to her exuberantly, "Hey, Mom, I fell off the ski lift." "It was so cool. When you write about it, tell everybody it was me. I fell off the ski lift." Sometimes letting go is the only way forward. You know, last week our choir performed the song, "There is a Season," and that piece comes from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, in the Christian New Testaments. And those verses say the exact same thing. To everything there's a season, there's a time for everything. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to pluck up the planted, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to break down and build up, to weep, to laugh, to mourn, to dance, to cast away stones, to gather stones, to hug, not to hug, to get and to lose and to keep and to throw away, to rend, to sow, to be silent, to speak, to love, to hate, a time of war, a time of peace. How many things have you hated to let go in your life? How many sleeves have you found yourself gripping tighter and tighter, feeling the slide and knowing you couldn't make it to the other side? How many times have you been unable to let go when it was time? I know for most of us there's a lot of them, starting with those favorite jammies as a 4-year-old. No wheel can turn if it's anchored to the ground. And no wheel can keep on turning if it's unbalanced. It'll just wear away on one side. Ostara is the time of year to dance in celebration of the coming, and it's also time to examine what to let go. Some of you may have heard the theme from the Disney movie Frozen. What's gone past its season? Let it go. Old hatreds and grudges, let it go. Eating habits from when you were 10 years younger, you can't eat that anymore, let it go. That friendship that does more harm than good, let it go. The relationship that tears you down rather than builds you up. Let go of the stuck places that anchor you to a point on the wheel you should have passed by a long time ago. Let go of the practices and theologies that aren't you anymore. Let it go. Let go of the mistakes you made 5 years ago and are still kicking yourself over. Let go of the pain caused when others tried to tell you who you were. You know who you are. When you've done all that, do the harder things, because you got to let go of the sleeve when it's time. Downsize the house you can't handle anymore. Let it go. Give up the clothes that fit you 32 years ago and you will never see that size again. Let it go. Put down the grudge you've carried for so long you really don't remember why it started. John, would you hand me my mug? Thank you, sir. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end, and nothing stays the same. The wheel has to turn. About 17 years ago, a dear friend lost her young husband way too soon. And I'll tell you, she's held on to him with both hands. Before his death, she was her and he was him. And after his death, she became Dave's widow. And she stayed Dave's widow, and something odd started to happen. She dragged his memory along with her through every moment of every day, and slowly it started to change shape from all that dragging. Started to lose its edges and to become polished. See, the Dave we knew, he wasn't polished. He sang like an angel, and he also burped way too loud in all the wrong places. He wore deliberately weird clothing in strange ways, ate with his fingers when he shouldn't have. He once used 2 bread wrappers to tie his hair back in ponytails because it was bugging him. That was the Dave we knew. The Dave she was holding on to after 10, 15, 17 years, that man was a saint. He'd lost all the pieces that made him real. All the unique bits that captured the fragile humanity. He was a caricature of himself in her mind. Excuse me. And he was shaping her life as she fought to keep that wheel from turning. So let go of the perfected memories. Remember all the good and all the bad, the dark and the light, and let the wheel turn. The wisdom of earth-centered religion tells us that there's a cycle. Tells us that spring is coming and that we celebrate the joy of new life, the end of winter. And Walt Disney and Frozen tell us to let it go, and who am I to argue with a Disney cartoon and a bunch of druids? Spring is coming. Welcome the light, dance the dance. Have a blessed Ostara and let it go. Amen.
The light dies and is born again. We extinguish our chalice and we see its light in the springtime sun and in the glowing warmth of our community. Before we turn to our closing hymn, I have a request that I've cleared with Reverend Amy and with Lisa. Our closing hymn will be followed by the benediction, and then we will sing May Love Surround You. I particularly like to hear the harmonies in that song. So I have requested that we sing it through twice. First in unison, and then second with people adding harmony as they are willing and able. Okay. Now, please rise in body and spirit and join in singing number 1064, Blue Boat Home.
The wheel turns and we go with it, so go in peace so that you can return again, wiser and more foolish, happier and sadder, more able to give and more willing to receive. Peace, ashe, and may it be so.